I hate horrors. I have never been a fan, but in the past year I have watched 12 different movies of the genre, desperately trying to understand why people love them so much. And it's not because I don't like being scared or something, they just aren't fun to watch. Take Weapons for example, rated 7.4 on IMDb, budget of 38 million, an absolute dogshit of a movie. No plot, no interesting characters, cheap gore and jump scares, and little to no atmosphere. Nosferatu, 50 million, Lily Rose Depp, William the Goat, 7.1 score. A weak, boring story about a horny vampire with nothing to show for it. Get Out. Small budget, Daniel Kaluuya, who also played in Black Mirror, and a great idea. And the execution is just bad. Heavy hints right at the start of the movie make you guess the plot twist in the first 30 minutes, and then you just see it play out the exact way you thought it would. In comparison, Obsession, that had a budget less than 1 million, somehow managed to do what all of those movies tried to achieve, but better. It creates this atmosphere of dread, while simultaneously being funny in some parts, which creates a good range of emotions. You are bracing for impact every minute of the movie, because even though you can kind of predict what happens next, you never know how it happens. And you are never ready to actually see it. It scares you to the point of being physically uncomfortable, and is still interesting enough that you want to see how it ends. It succeeds because its horror stems from the character's realistic traits, not just something supernatural, and it delivers. The friend group of the movie consists of Nikki, Bear, Ian, and Sarah. Surprisingly, the last two are pretty well developed, despite being side characters. Unfortunately, we don't get to know Nikki much, but I can confidently say that the rest of the group have never thought about anyone but themselves in their entire lives. People who only care about self-preservation, and the only time they show some kind of support for each other is for a selfish reason. Ian, who is supposedly Bear's best friend, does everything in his power to set him up for a failure, literally the first second we see him.
You can't turn weekly gathering of camaraderie and skill into your 7-year late proposal, Bear.
Then when do I ask?
He even justifies it by the fact that he loves trivia night, so he obviously couldn't sacrifice it for his best friend's happiness. Since we find out about Ian's relationship with Nikki,
Bear, Ian and Nikki have been hooking up on and off for like 2 years.
he is either possessive and wants to keep Nikki for himself, or he is afraid that Bear will find out and be mad at him. But anyway, if it's the first, or second, or both, it just points to the fact that his comfort is more important to him than the one of his friend. He does try to help out Bear a few times, talks to Nikki, and tries to understand what happened to her, tells him about her dad's health to make him understand that he is being lied to, even says that Bear takes advantage of her, and they should stop being so codependent.
It kind of looks like you're taking advantage of the situation, and I say it with love, bro. I'm saying it with love.
But I believe that deep down is because he thinks Nikki is using Bear to get back at him. He doesn't care about either of them. He just hopes he can keep hooking up with Nikki and hang out with Bear without facing any consequences of his own actions. In his pre-last scene, instead of hearing his friend out, who is covered in blood and is visibly in distress, he just gets triggered because Bear brings up Nikki, ignores him, and wishes for money.
Whoa, 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 dude, stop. Okay, I need you to say, I wish my friend Barry.
I wish for $1.
Then you have Sarah. Her introduction makes her seem caring. She's the only one who asks Bear about his loss and comforts him, but her true motives show up real fast. I may not know much, but when you see your friend have a mental breakdown, you usually at least send a text to find out if everything is okay. Sarah never once calls or texts Nikki. Not when she falls madly in love with the guy who she called her little brother to her face just a few days prior. Not when she invents a story about her dad's cancer. Not when she stops acting like herself. And not when she smashes her own head with a broken glass. Instead, she uses it to get closer to her crush. The peak of her pick-me persona is to text Bear in the middle of the night to snitch on his girlfriend, open the uni acceptance letter with him, and then tell him that she would be a much better partner to him, because she's more chill, and thus would be a better fit.
I mean, that was to your left.
At first, he seems like a nice guy. He's polite, a little unconfident and introverted, but it doesn't really go to any extremes at first. He used to take care of his grandma before she died, and his cat before it accidentally ate some medication that fell out of a cabinet. The movie really wants us to feel bad and to root for him at the start, but the longer you watch it, the more details you see that make it more and more apparent that you might be under a false impression. Take the pills. It's oxycodone, heavy painkillers. There is a do not eat sign on it. If you're taking care of someone who needs heavy meds, you don't keep them in a junky cabinet that not only doesn't lock, but doesn't even close properly. Combine that with his search history showing all people's homes, and you start to see a pattern. Bear isn't inherently evil, but he is intensely lazy and completely averse to discomfort. He relies on easy fixes, and he never cares enough to prevent or fix real problems. When he talks to Nikki when she's being vulnerable and reveals her genuine feelings to him, he offers empty, "Yeah bro, that's crazy" one-liners instead of reciprocating. She gives him a chance to confess his feelings, but he shuts her down. When she shows signs of distress after the wish was made, instead of researching unfortunate her condition, he just types a single line to a chatbot.
I looked at like 3 different websites.
Bear replaces genuine efforts by taking shortcuts, even by simply generating some fuck-ass AI art, considering that Nikki is an artist and most likely wouldn't be too happy with it. Well, at least the real Nikki wouldn't. I like to think that during the Wish Willow scene, when Nikki asked him if he liked her, that if he was honest and actually was brave enough to reveal his true feelings, it might have turned out differently. But he chose an easier solution. From there, we barely see the real Nikki. We only get tiny glimpses of her deep down, desperately trying to break out. Leaving notes, writing that weird Hansel and Gretel fanfic.
A love only the branch of a willow tree could conjure.
And eventually speaking to Bear while Wish Nikki is sleeping, begging him to end her life because of how much pain she's in.
Just kill me, please.
Instead, what we see most of the film is Wish Nikki. She isn't controlled by a demon, she's a direct manifestation of Bear's wish. She's driven by a single instinct, to love Bear more than anything and eliminate anything that threatens that delusion. Because this entity doesn't actually understand human love, it expresses it in bizarre ways, like building a shrine for his dead cat, giving him her tiger's eye, or making him lunch with the cat.
What's the verdict, cat?
Not me.
Inside joke.
She adapts to whatever he wants, morphing into everything except an actual human being with her own thoughts. Frequently, she's filmed as a shadow or a silhouette, which shows how Bear actually views her, as a shadow of her former self, existing only to serve him. And the threats to this fake love are very real. The first threat is when Bear himself breaks the game. In the restaurant scene, when he asks if her dad really has cancer, Wish Nikki throws a full-blown tantrum, because he isn't playing along with the illusion he created. The second threat was Sarah, and we know how that ended. The sad part is that Bear never liked or loved her, because if he did, he would support her leaving her job to pursue writing. He would be vulnerable with her, he would confess, and if she friend-zoned him, he would let her go. Since if her happiness was important to him, he would never choose something for her. And yes, of course, you might say that he didn't expect One Wish Willow to work. And yes, he wasn't sure if it actually did work at the start. But that scene at the restaurant made it apparent enough. He knew for sure since then, yet never faced the truth. Even when he realized that the wish worked, he never tries to fix it until it directly affects him. He ignores her weird behavior, her asking for death, and even hearing the real Nikki screaming on the customer support line. He accepts Sarah's invitation and almost cheats on his dream girl, only deciding to fix the wish after Sarah dies, and he faces the actual consequences. That's the moment he decides to cancel his wish. Or does he? You see, while he goes to the store, it gets confirmed a second time now, that the only way to cancel the wish is for someone to wish the opposite, or for Bear to die.
Or you could die. I mean, you could kill yourself. You know, I'm just spitball here.
He of course goes to the first option, but he buys 2 wish willows, one to cancel his wish and the second one to make a new, altered one. Since we know that that doesn't work out, his plan to ask Nikki to wish something for him was only a backup. That, as we know, didn't work due to unforeseen circumstances.
Night, Freaky Nikki.
But what would he wish for? Most likely for Nikki to love him and be normal, and be real Nikki.
Say that, I just want you to act like Nikki.
Which also wouldn't end well. The final act and culmination of his narcissism happens here. Bear decides to end himself, not because he caused his friends' deaths, not because he has done something unspeakable to Nikki, no, because he wants an easy way out. But of course, as we know, he never had enough courage, so the only thing that stops him from puking his pills back out as the last attempt to save himself is Nikki's wish. To a certain extent, it was not only a way to show his final act of cowardice, but it also shows that his actions have direct consequences that not only affect others, but him as well. Obsession succeeds as a horror movie because it doesn't have and doesn't need a masked killer or an evil demon to scare you. Things aren't just black and white here.
It does work and it like ruins their lives.
Or they die, I wish they were dead.
You don't immediately know who is the villain and who is the victim. The movie is very misleading at the start, since even the villain of the story falls victim to his own actions. You're scared the entire time, but you aren't scared for him, you're scared with him. The film kinda tricks you into bonding with this total asshole. Even though you recognize all of his flaws, you still have to suffer right alongside with him, kind of fallen victim to his actions as well. Every single character in this group was so focused on their own comfort, their own desires, and saving their own skin, that they destroyed each other in the process. Bear thought he was just living the dream, until he realized that the monster he created has nothing to do with the real person he fell in love with. It's a movie that leaves you feeling physically tense not just because of the horror elements, but because it shows how terrifying people get when they care more about their own illusions than actual human beings. Your body goes tense in the first 10 minutes, and that feeling doesn't stop until hours after you walk out of the cinema. And that's Obsession. This was my first movie analysis. It's pretty different from my usual content, but I had fun making it. If you guys enjoyed this style, let me know in the comments and I might cover more films in the future. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe. You can also check out my previous videos on setting up remote PC access or deep dive into why Apex Legends flopped. Thanks for watching and have a great day.